Okay, this is my current favorite thumbnail on YouTube. Or maybe it's this. Okay, no, it's this. But then again...
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Saladino.
This is the face of quadruple A gaming. There's no reason to make your female protagonist look this way. With the graphics we have today, women should be looking amazing. They put all this effort and technology on the environments. Like you look at something like Horizon Forbidden West, and all those locales look so beautiful. The dinosaurs and the creatures, they look amazing. But the people, particularly the women, look terrible. They shouldn't look like that now with the graphics we have. What has happened to aesthetics? I mean, look at this shit. She looks like Richard Ramirez. She looks like the Night Stalker. Yeah, I got that from a commenter on a previous video about this Outlaws game. Of course they only sold 1 million copies, if they even sold that. So there are YouTubers, anti-woke YouTubers, who are trying to be fair and balanced and talk about Star Wars Outlaws' failure, the fact that it flopped in like this, fair and balanced way where they're not mentioning, okay, so like I watched World Class Bullshitters do a video on this just a little while ago, and he never once mentioned how Kay Vess looked. Now, people in his comments mentioned it. They were like, I'm not playing a game with this ugly ass character. Some people even called her plain, but she's not just plain. She's hideous. So you have all this technology, right? And you purposely make the female lead of a Star Wars game not just plain. You make her hideous. You make her unattractive. You do this on purpose. This is a visual medium. Your largest target audience is straight white men, period. So despite the gaming industry and Disney and game journals gaslighting everybody into thinking that Star Wars is actually for girls and for wine-ons or whatever, it really is still for men. Star Wars is dead because they stopped catering and making it for men, sort of making it for women and normies, and particularly older women for some insane reason. So this is a visual medium. So even if you're not taking into account the fact that, hey, this is a Star Wars game, most Star Wars fans who are going to want to play a game about a rogue or a scoundrel who want to play a Han Solo game. And if you don't give us a Han Solo game, why would you give us this ugly ass woman instead and say, here fools, play this and pay us for it? Like, why would you expect this to be successful? Especially since the problem with making her so ugly. So it's already you've made her a woman. We've already seen this trend. That's the whole big thing about this culture war stuff and this anti-woke stuff, is that this push from activists in gaming press and activists at these studios in the actual gaming industry who keep pushing for more women protagonists, for more feminism in it, for more identity politics, for all the stuff that nobody who comes to these hobbies want and care about. But it's all there now. So we see it. As soon as you see a woman as a lead in a Star Wars game, people complained. Not just because, oh, it's a woman, I want to play as a woman. We've been playing as women for years, all kinds of women in games. What's happening now is the type of women that they're purposely creating, and the way that they're doing it is antagonistic. So to do this thing where you're trying to sound fair and balanced by not even mentioning the fact that people find Kay Vess so hideous, you're missing the point that they made her hideous on purpose and it's antagonistic. So everybody's black-pilled. Everybody's alert to what they're doing. So they've created this environment where all you have to do is see a female lead in the game now, and everybody knows what you're going to get alongside that. It's not just that she's ugly. It's that everything that comes with it, all the baggage that comes with it. Because if you're a dev and a journal that needs to defend this or needs to push this, then you know other things that go with it. This is a feminist thing. This defeat the male gaze stuff is for feminists. Nobody wants feminists entertaining men. Like, I did a whole video, stop hiring feminists to entertain men. They got all these women writing superhero stories and superhero games. It's insane. And these women don't respect this stuff. And back to this antagonistic thing about it, because they're activists. What they're trying to do, the reason why it's so heavy-handed and so obvious is because they're trying to annoy you. It's like those Just Stop Oil idiots.
Damn, look at that first round for Joker very quickly with the bet. And you know, the thing about Joker is that he likes to play what this? What's going on?
We are just stop oil, and we are demanding that the UK government immediately cease all new licensing of coal, oil and gas.
All you have to do is look at the actual actress they hired to model and play Kay Vess, and you see what's going on. Once you see that, you can't unsee it, and you can't say, okay, I'm going to give these people the benefit of the doubt. You know what they're doing. You know that the devs hate you as a gamer and as a straight man, and yet they have the nerve to expect you to pay them money for it. The bugs and the PS1 level graphics hit different when you see that the devs are a bunch of woke morons who hate their audience and are purposely attacking them by making this ugly woman character. The reason why a lot of these shady industry practices like half-assed gameplay and half-finished games that devs promise to patch later are now failing is because gamers are aware of the fact that the industry hates them. I'm going to keep saying that because that's what this is about. You say one thing about how you love seeing an attractive woman in a game, and everybody descends upon you like there's something wrong with you for being straight and a man and appreciating beauty. They've hired people who go out of their way to tell you how much they hate you and how being straight and being naturally attracted to women is wrong. And then you have journos defending the industry, telling you how hateful you are. And it's just like people say, if IGN likes it, do the opposite. History is going to be kind to Star Wars Outlaws. No, it won't. So this article by The Gamer, which Gamer should be spelled Thegaymer, what with all the trans and gay bloggers they have writing over there. But what makes a video game bad? I would normally describe it as an experience that plays or looks terrible, or constantly gets in its own way with poorly developed characters, narratives, or game design where levels and mechanics are a frequent frustration. So many things have to go wrong for a game to be truly bad. But when standards are so high, that doesn't matter. This is insane. This is the new gaslighting trick. This new tactic that studios and journals are trying to pull now, where they pretend that a AAA game that's asking for $70 to up to $130 or more for a game that can barely function out the gate, where they have deliberately uglified female protagonists in it, where they hide the best possible features, like say Java in the game, something like that, behind a paywall. They do things like that, and then they tell you, when you criticize it or you don't buy it, that your standards are too high, that this is a rock-solid game at launch, but it's too bad that gamers have such high expectations of us. We want you to spend almost $200 on a game. We want you to lock yourself up on our stupid-ass launcher and just pay a monthly subscription just to play the game. We want you to get used to not owning your games, but your standards are too high. And you have assholes like this Jade King who wrote this article where they're caping for it. And this is why people hate journals, because they sign off on all this shit and only complain if gamers are excited for a game. And it's not like they're warning gamers about any issues with the actual game. They start complaining about things like misogyny at a studio and counting the number of female characters in it. That's what they do when they talk about, oh, there's a problem with the game. That's their standard. Their standard is, how many women characters do you have in it? How soon are they in there? And do they shit on the men? That's their standard. Our standard is, give us a great game that works well, that is worth our time and money, and stop lecturing to us and attacking us, and you're all good. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but there's some choice paragraphs in this shitty article. During the review period for Star Wars Outlaws, a friend turned to me and asked what score I planned to give Massive's open-world scoundrel simulator. I hate the way they even say that, whatever. Without skipping a beat, I threw out a 7 and 10, the score I eventually awarded. This is a respectable score, and one I have given to plenty of decent games over the years, games that these clowns have shilled for. By the Gamer's Review Guide, a 7/10 is good, but to many, it has become a sign of mediocrity. If something isn't scoring at least an 8 or higher, it isn't worth playing and is a lightning rod for criticism. That's because journals score big games they shill for a 7 out of 10. They do it all the time. They set the standard and are now blaming gamers for being smart enough to see through their bullshit. Thanks to its status as a Ubisoft open world game and having the gall to star a woman that isn't supermodel levels of attractive, more gaslighting. The problem isn't that she isn't supermodel levels of attractive. The problem is she's hideous. She's downright ugly. She's deliberately made to be unappealing to men, defeat the male gaze, and yet they want men to still buy the game. She's not even as attractive as the woman they hired to play her. And I say not even, but Umberly Gonzalez is gorgeous. That's all they had to do. Scan Umberly Gonzalez into the game the way Respawn did for old boy who plays Cal Kestis. That's all. Outlaws was already public enemy #1 ahead of release. I was frequently scrolling past videos on TikTok that unfairly edited gameplay to portray the experience as borderline unplayable, when the reality is far more commendable. Yeah. Whoever was uploading these compilations was never going to give the game a fair shake, and their agenda from the very beginning was to label it as garbage without laying a finger on it. This, sadly, isn't an uncommon practice. I hate this thing where they say, play it first before you decide. No, I'm not spending money on this shit. Why would I spend money on something I know I'm not going to like? If I'm looking at the game and I already know, again, you look at this main character. That's enough for me. You make a female lead in a Star Wars game. People are tired of that. It's a scoundrel, so you're basically making females Han Solo, trans Solo. And then you want us to then play her and she's ugly at that. No, I'm not going to get it. I don't need to, even if it's the greatest game ever, which it couldn't be with the mentality behind the people who are making it. But still, even if it was a great 4-star game, with the stuff surrounding it is enough for me not to patronize them, not to spend money on it. But anyway, so what is it? From the very beginning was to label it as garbage without laying a finger on it. This, sadly, isn't an uncommon practice. If a certain group has an agenda against any game, they will make it their mission to let their audiences know. Look who's fucking talking. This is from a website that boycotted a game because the creator of the series it's based on recognizes the difference between men and women. Or the opposite, much like how right-wing grifters gravitated towards Stellar Blade and made playing it an anti-woke pilgrimage. When critics were incredibly positive about it, they looked a little bit silly. Nobody looks silly. Nobody gives a shit what journals think about Stellar Blade. We all just pointed out all their hypocritically bad takes, like IGN's French office losing their minds over Eve and ranting about domestic abuse and impossible beauty standards and how real women will suffer because they can't compete, as if that's gamers' fault for enjoying a hobby that has nothing to do with women and their self-esteem. It's not right-wing to be straight. It's not right-wing to point out how full of shit activists are and how they're ruining gaming with their dumb ideology. Again, the gamer is a site full of trans women and gay weirdos who are constantly complaining about how sexy female characters are, or getting mad at actual gamers for modding the games they paid for to improve their experience with the game. To act like gamers who are genuinely excited for Stellar Blade because it was clearly not being made by people who hate gamers who enjoy the sight of beautiful women, care what journals think, is delusional. Speaking of delusional, the fact that Ubisoft thought that Star Wars Outlaws was their Red Dead Redemption 2, I don't understand. I can't fathom that level of delusion.
Smuggling rings stole and reconfigured disruptor rifles, arming several criminal
Out of the damn way! Should have moved. Damn lunatic!
They put all of these hurdles between themselves and the actual customer base. They made the main character ugly. No tits. No ass. Stupid, weird mix of races and genders. The full game is expensive as fuck. They made an open world Star Wars game be mainly stealth based. They only let you have one weapon in a third person shooter. And a bunch of incompetent diversity hires working on the game that are clearly not half as skilled as the people working at Rockstar during Red Dead Redemption 2's development. I mean, just look at the women.
Parking her bike, she hops off and stares toward a circular building. Text appears. Janta's Hope, Toshara. She waits for a speeder to pass before crossing the road. Breaking into a jog, she goes by a Twi'lek woman leaning against a post. Weathered doors slide open for the young woman and Nix to enter a dimly lit cantina where they approach a humanoid droid wearing a long coat at the bar.
In the present day, Star Wars Outlaws has been cast aside as a forgettable failure, thanks to our standards being so high and the industry being stuck in a destructive cycle of needing every single AAA game to be a flawless masterpiece or a catastrophic failure. The culture allows little wiggle room, and gamers are so expectant these days that if a game falls out of its good graces even once, it might as well not exist. Minds were made up about Outlaws a long time before its launch, and that's not fair. It's an attitude that spits on hard work and refuses to acknowledge the hard work that goes into making games a reality. Actually, the gamer should be called the gaslighter. The level of hypocrisy and insanity in this article is off the charts. The Western games industry and the activist gaming press have created a culture based on the hatred of straight men, particularly straight white men. But then everybody who's into this stuff, everybody who's into these geek hobbies, everybody's into gaming and comics and, cool action films or whatever, we all catch strays because feminists and activists have a problem with the patriarchy, have a problem with gender norms. This clown, this weirdo at the gamer is talking about the reason why Star Wars Outlaws failed is because we have an agenda against it, when the game is built on an agenda. It's built on this idea that what you like and what you want is wrong. We're here to clean that up. We're here to make you empathize for women. We're here to make you accept the fact that you shouldn't like an attractive woman in society because that hurts real women. And to them, real women are men and ugly women and fat women. It's not that gamers have impossibly high standards. It's just that gamers are not going to put up with the shit you're shoveling anymore. It has nothing to do with what gamers actually want. And we're not going to applaud you for it, and we're not going to spend money on your shit.
Shimmering, cold and I can be all you ask of me. Music in spring, flowers for a king, all these I bring to you.